You're tuned into the Edible Activist Podcast. I am your host and favorite go-to edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. On this show, we serve up empowering narratives and fresh perspectives straight from the voices of emerging Black people and people of color in agriculture and business. And in these candid conversations, we might sprinkle in a few choice words. They're the ones stewarding the land, healing communities, and championing food justice and economic empowerment across the country. Their contributions and stories sprouted from the earth truly embody the spirit of activism in their own unique, edible ways. So let's dig in and get started. Peace and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast, where I am broadcasting live from the Line LA. I am here celebrating their 10th anniversary, and of course, I have a special episode for you. So here with me today, I have Carmen and Kara, the founders of Prosperity Market, based here in Los Angeles, which is a farmer's market on wheels and a food truck in one. They feature Black farmers, food producers, and chefs and travel throughout LA, conveniently bringing a curated farmers market experience to all these beautiful folks here in LA. Thank y'all for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, I'm so excited.
We are too. We're really glad to be here, glad to be talking to you.
Amazing. So we were having a brief conversation before and been to California several times, first time to LA. And my very first official interview on the Edible Activist Podcast in LA. So this is special.
Yay! We love that.
I absolutely love it. And so I'm grateful. I've tapped into you all's work more recently, and I said, oh, no, I need to bring them in. Y'all, it was like 2 days ago. I was like, I need y'all on the show. Can you come last minute? They were like, sure. So it warms my heart when people show up, in this space and we get to share another narrative. And these Black women are beautiful, and I'm excited for them to share their story and what they got going on here in LA. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. So on the Edible Activists, we love a good origin story. And I know an origin story can probably take an hour depending on which way it goes, but we're working with a little bit of time. But we just want to start with, your roots just a bit, or pretty much just how you got into this space, like how Prosperity Market LA came about. So we can start with either Diane or Kara. Who wants to go first?
I'm not going to call it accidental, but it wasn't intentional. On our part, at least.
Yes. Divine.
Right.
The star
Very
of the
much so.
I was a makeup artist. Kara was a fashion designer. We were not at all in the food space. And over the pandemic, I think it was one of those things where the everything merged. What did Torre say the other day? He said something about all of the circumstances like kind of merged, where we were in the middle of the pandemic. We weren't working. And then after George Floyd was murdered, we were witnessing such a big push to support Black-owned businesses. But we know that even before the pandemic, $1 stays in the Black community for just 6 hours, which is the stat that, we've heard. And it felt like if this is true, then all of this support, as great as it is not gonna last, because it's just gonna flow right out of the community. So we really were having conversations about how do we circulate the dollar? How do we keep it in our communities? And we ended up just deciding that we need to own more businesses, and we need to own more essential businesses.
And that was compounded by all of the grocery store lines we were experiencing in the pandemic, right? Shelves being empty, the supply chain really being disrupted, and not being able to get what we usually had access to in the same way. And so when you look around and only essential businesses are open, only essential workers are working and putting themselves on the line.
Right.
It's like, well, most of the businesses we own as Black people are not essential businesses. So 41% of all Black-owned businesses across the country closed. That was the hardest hit group. And it was like, what does it look like to provide economic support and economic impact in the most essential way. What's more essential than food? And so that was kind of our starting point and where the rabbit hole kind of began for Prosperity
It
Market.
was a rabbit hole.
We love rabbit holes. Listen, I'm always down for a part 2 to go down a rabbit hole. So the stats are just staggering always, and it breaks my heart because it is us, Black and brown folks, who are impacted by all of the systems. But I'm happy that you all said, you know what, we have a solution. And I know that you all are still working and digging and building, but you all have created something so beautiful, which we're going to dive in a little bit more. But to give audience members just a little bit of the lay of the land, the landscape of LA when it comes to food access. LA, very widespread out. Y'all, this is my first time being in LA, so I'm up here talking like I done been here a million times, okay?
Did you have a chance to explore?
Just a bit, but I'm gonna explore a little bit more today
Okay.
after this show, after this
Okay.
wonderful show. But just to give folks an understanding of, food access here in LA, which is another reason that prompted you or propelled you all to create Prosperity Markets as well, because LA, as big as LA is, and as much as that grows here in LA, there's still food disparities,
Very much so.
which is just alarming.
Yeah.
But it exists. So
And we grow the most food in the country. But Los Angeles, specifically South Los Angeles, has some of the highest numbers of food insecurity. And it kind of feels intentional,
yeah,
And like you said, just to give people some perspective, so Los Angeles County as a whole has over 80 cities. So
That's
it's
a lot of
It's a lot.
cities.
It's very spread out. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to make our solution mobile, because we can't open a grocery store from nothing, right? Carmen was in makeup as a makeup artist. I was a fashion designer. We didn't have a stash of money, just like, oh, let's open a grocery store.
Yeah,
But it was
yeah.
like, what could it look like to take the food to where the people are? And given that LA is so spread out, one, we could go directly into communities that don't have the access or don't usually have farmers markets and fresh food. And two, we can also take all of the farmers and vendors and all of their amazing products into areas that can afford it, but may not have a diverse shopping pool to be able to grow and expand their businesses. So both of those components have been really important in the foundation of why we created Prosperity Market to be mobile and to go to different locations.
wow. What has the impact been like in the local community? So there are tiers to this, right? So there is the supporting Black farmers and producers and entrepreneurs, right? Because there's this economic stability that we want to, provide. Hearing the staggering statistics around Black businesses, but then there's the people in the community. So if you can just talk more about how, when you were, dreaming up this vision, how is that trickling down to the local community? What does that impact look like?
I think that we can be the most local with our model because we can go directly into communities. And also our produce can be hyper local too. When we first started this and we were looking for farmers, we had to learn all about the long history of Black farmers and how there's not a lot.
Yeah, less than 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah, Black farmers we're talking
Yes.
specifically. Yeah.
And in California, in Los Angeles, it was really hard for us to find farmers initially because we don't have the acreage, like in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Once we started to kind of redefine what we considered a farmer, and we found community gardens and backyard growers and urban farmers who can still grow a lot of produce and can still provide for a lot of people. So now when those are our vendors, we could be hyper local, and it's the community feeding the community. Like our farmers are feeding their neighbors.
Yeah, and you're exposing, you are helping to diversify the reach, right? So going back to the pandemic where you couldn't get milk, you couldn't get toilet paper, there's a lot of things that you couldn't get, but also cultural appropriate foods, making that accessible, to the local community. So just with your model, I mean, you're hitting so many different prongs, and I just think it's beautiful and it's amazing. So feeding community, or what you said. What you said.
I don't even know what I said. But that sounded good, though.
The other part is, so for the last 3 years, we've been doing pop-ups all over LA. So we've been everywhere from Compton to Malibu and everywhere in between. And the vision of Prosperity Market was always to have a farmer's market on wheels. But we never intended to do pop-ups from the beginning. And when we decided, look, we need to create something that has some traction, we need to figure out how to get this ball rolling, even though we don't have the means to immediately build our farmer's market on wheels, that's when the pop-ups were born. So it was like creating this mobile model, still going to different cities, still going to different neighborhoods, and the pop-ups kind of became our MVP, right? They became the thing that allowed us to connect with communities, allowed us to establish vendor and farmer relationships, build relationships with like the local organizations and build partnerships. And it became something that everybody enjoyed and that's really fun. And they kind of developed a life of their own. Yeah. And so unintentionally, it was a really great way to start off our mobile model and introduce Prosperity Market to a lot of different areas all at once.
Can we talk about, oh, you were going to add something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the pop-ups that, weren't initially part of the original plan also sparked our online market, our virtual market, because we started doing pop-ups February 2021, which was in the height of the pandemic. And we were having a conversation with someone I would consider a mentor.
Yeah.
And she asked us, what are you going to do about COVID? And we had this conversation. It was still 2020 when we were having the conversation. So I'm just like, what do you mean? COVID will be gone by then. But what she did was planted that seed. And then we really had to think about it like, oh, actually, what are we going to do if people are still not comfortable leaving the house? So we started the virtual market, which was contactless pickup at the time. So you could shop online, pre-order your items, and then you could have contactless pickup.
And little did we know that would be an entirely new avenue of our business, because now it's developed into an entire like online marketplace where we do local pickup, local delivery, and national shipping. So that initial conversation turned into an entirely separate avenue of Prosperity Market.
The stars be aligning, y'all. The stars be aligning. You know what? And which is a great segue into my next question, or maybe more so point that you all can add to. The way that people are purchasing is different now, right? So with the brick and mortar, buildings, which I still love, right? People still walk into a store, but purchasing is changing. And so there's more e-commerce, you have more brick and mortars that are closing down, but some that are coming up. So shout out to them, right? So is this something that you all have thought about, even though I know the stars align, because you didn't even know that you were going to have this online market, which is awesome. Like, I love the idea of an online market, but knowing that commerce is going to continue to change, like how people purchase will continue to change. Like, is that something that, with everything that you have going on, is that something you kind of keep at like the side of your mind, the forefront, and just like what that looks like futuristically, and how that can evolve, right? What are your thoughts on that?
It is something that we think about, and I think we have to, because with the work that we do and the way that we do it, we have several different types of customers. We're a platform for the farmers and the vendors, and that is one service that we provide.
Yeah.
And then we have the in-person experience that we provide with our pop-ups, and that we also will be providing with our mobile trailer going directly into communities. And then we have our online marketplace. Mm-hmm. And while there is overlap in terms of in-person and online, they're also different people.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
if we are going into our communities with people that look like us that don't have a lot of access, most of that is going to be done in person because there's a level of trust that needs to be built if we're coming into your neighborhood and your community. There's also an introduction and a what is this, because the way we're set up looks totally new. So there's a level of trust and comfort there before anybody is like, I'll shop with you online.
Yeah, of course.
And then the online shopper, honestly, is usually someone who has a little bit more expendable income or wants the convenience,
Right.
all of those things. So it's an overlap, but it's completely separate. And then you factor in shopping for food online is not like shopping for clothes online.
Exactly.
So how do we make sure that if someone hasn't experienced us in person yet or hasn't had an introduction to us, they can trust us with shipping them food items? And so those are lots of different things that we think about in how the landscape is changing, who our customers are, what people might want, and the way that we show up for them.
Absolutely. And I don't even think it's necessarily an overlap, right? It's just, it's one channel of revenue and another channel of revenue because you have two different customers. We need all the monies, okay?
That part.
Like, come on, we can make an impact and make money, and that's economic stability, okay?
And that is so important. That is something we talk about so often because people think that it's altruistic or you can make money, but you need to make money to keep doing good. And that's something that's really important. And I did want to say, one of the things that we're actually really proud of in terms of our online marketplace is we did a pilot program with a building for formerly unhoused seniors. And that was really great because they were ordering and shopping online, and then we were bringing the orders and the groceries to them. So it's like, okay, what does it look like in a digital divide to be able to create spaces where online access may be the most convenient access you have and still being able to get what you need. So we look at things like that, and it's like, what could it look like to create new solutions in spaces that somebody might not think about it?
Absolutely. Wow. Now, I know the pandemic was going on and folks weren't traveling, but I don't need to know what was popping off at these pop-ups, especially the one in Compton. That's the one I wanted to go to, okay? Paint the scene for me because I couldn't be there. But what popped off?
Okay, so we have all of our vendors, and that could range from like 30 vendors or more, depending on the location and what's happening. We have our DJ, Maya Moves, who's amazing, and she always sets the tone.
I know.
Always.
Y'all was popping.
And we just have a lot of good food. We have a lot of fun. And a lot of community. And you really are, it really does feel like, I've heard people call it like a family reunion because you're meeting people, everyone's really open, everyone is just in a great mood. It's just a really good place to be.
That's beautiful.
The vendors are like sharing what have they made? How can you prepare it at home? What does that look like and feel like? We have the produce and the packaged foods, but also like prepared foods. So people will kind of make it their event for the day, come out, buy some stuff, sit down and eat. When we have the space, we have a children's area for games. So we create it as an atmosphere of fun. I mean, only kind of like we can. Our tagline is not your average farmer's market.
Yes, I saw
and it's
that.
just
I
not.
love that.
So,
yeah. That's awesome. Can you highlight some of the Black farmers and other producers, like just some to shout out? Because I want to say their names. Like, I'm all, listen, this is all about amplification, and I'm coming back to LA, so I want to meet some of these people too. Okay, so please put me on. But who are some of the Black, farmers and purveyors, producers, and entrepreneurs just to shout out that you all work with?
We have to shout out Farmer Ken.
Okay, Farmer Ken. Hey, Farmer Ken.
He was one of our, he was probably our first farmer.
Okay.
I feel like he reluctantly joined us. He was kind of like, okay, I'll see what they're talking about.
Well,
But
we found him and reached out like kind of cold. So he was just like, sure, I'll listen.
Yeah.
And we, he since has moved to a bigger space. He's just outside of LA proper. But we came to his garden at the time that was at his home, and he showed us around.
Yeah,
but he's
food
like
forest.
His food forest.
Yeah, it was all like his backyard was up. So he just had it planted very strategically. It was really beautiful to
Oh
see.
my
It was like an incline. He had like a hill
Yeah.
up his backyard, and that was where he planted and grew, and it was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
And so, like,
that
these
sounds
two
incredible.
strangers, he's showing us around. We're telling him about this thing we're doing, and he's like, "Okay."
Listen, you sometimes you gotta shoot your shot, and y'all made it. So you know,
But I appreciate that he was open to it, and he was like, he saw the vision. He was willing to see, even if it didn't make sense all of the way. He was like, they seem all right, you know.
And 3 years later, he's still with us, so we appreciate
that
that.
is awesome. That is so awesome. Who else? Who else do we have on tap?
IGH,
Okay.
IGH Gardens, Charlie Southward.
Yeah.
We love Charlie.
Oh, shout out Charlie.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Charlie.
He's a former veteran. He's had a whole wonderful, amazing life, and he grows, but he also has dedicated crops that he gives to homeless shelters and domestic violence shelters. Like, he also does a lot of work feeding the community and feeding people for free. I mean, everything he grows is amazing. We love him. He's a sweet man.
What are some of you all's favorites? What have been? I know it's a hard question, but you gotta answer
It's
it. Okay?
not that hard because we handpicked everyone that's in the market anyway, so everything is our favorite.
We're not even like individual businesses, but just some of like the crops or just things you kind of look forward to. You know, like if I see ginger, I'm all over ginger, right? Like if I see okra or if I see a candle, I love a good candle. Like, what are just some of the things that just excite you all at the market?
One of the things that Carmen and I have talked about is the unintentional experience of having so much access to like fresh and seasonal things and how it's changed the way, I know for me, like the desire for the way that I eat, like when if we're talking specifically about produce, like it is not the same. And to know that, and every once in a while be like, oh, this tastes different than when I get it from here, versus like this has been picked yesterday, today, from the ground.
Ain't nothing like it.
It's a totally different experience. So the fruit, the vegetables, all those things. And I'm now committed that at some point I'm going to have fruit trees. Like that is, I must have fruit trees.
You have a favorite fruit?
You know, I don't really.
Okay.
I enjoy the different fruits that are seasonal. And that's not something that 10 years ago I thought about very much.
right.
But being in LA and then doing this, it's created a whole new world for me. So like I'm committed to fruit trees 100%.
I want to come visit when these fruit trees are on and popping. I want to come and visit. I want to
You
come
know,
and visit.
Tamara, one of our farmers has these huge avocados. I mean, it takes like two hands to hold these avocados.
They can be like 10-ounce avocado, like very big, like prayer hands hold the avocado.
And probably so buttery and just smooth.
Yeah, they are.
Man, so y'all got access to the
And
good
she's
stuff.
in Compton, and she is not only an urban farmer, but also like teaches other people how to grow.
That's
And
so wonderful. That's so wonderful.
She could take care of your fruit trees.
she sure can. Because I'm gonna need some help.
This is a community network. Each one teach one, okay? Are there any other business models, mobile farmers market models across the states that you all might have kind of learned about that you may draw inspiration from, or has it just been straight like we building this thing from the ground up, or just any other business models that might be might similarly align with what you all are doing?
What's funny is when we first started this, I didn't know mobile markets existed. Like, I thought we discovered the mobile market. I thought we did this, and then we realized that mobile markets do exist, but just not in the way that we're doing it at all. The inspiration actually came from working on set. Because, there's makeup trailers. You work in the makeup trailer. There's a production trailer. There's the crafty trailer, which is the snacks.
Yes.
And
I did not know there was a crafty trailer, but thank you for that intel.
some sets depend, not every. Sometimes it's a table, sometimes it's a trailer.
Okay.
Bigger budget, bigger crafty.
Exactly.
But it really got me to thinking of how, we were kind of thinking about the farmers market and traveling and going to different neighborhoods and popping up. And it's like, there's an easier way to do this. We can make it like that crafty trailer that was so great on that one set. And then that turned into the mobile farmers market and food truck. So our mobile market you can enter from the back. It's a big 48-foot trailer. You can come in from the back and shop, and it's set up like an aisle in a grocery store. And then the front is a kitchen. So it is actually a food truck. And we're going to rent it out to different chefs and food entrepreneurs. So it's a pop-up food truck. And we have a food truck and the farmer's market in one.
That's so awesome. Now, you all, because I do want to talk a little bit about the lifting of this, the online market, the mobile market, the pop-up market, I mean, the whole business model. But before diving into that, because obviously it takes resources, lots of resources to do these things. And y'all were on the Today Show, right? Were you featured on the Today Show? Am I making that
Good
up?
Morning America.
Good Morning America. Oh, Lord, if y'all listen. Good Morning America. GMA, yes. Charge my head, not my heart, okay? Charge my head, not my heart. Love them the same. Love them both, okay? Good Morning America. But y'all were, and I saw this as I watched the clip, weren't you all surprised with like some funding to like help support your business model? I was like, I had tears, okay? I was like, I don't even know these girls. And I was like, oh my gosh, just choked up. And so resources, funding, sweat equity, like literally all the things. Like, if you just want to speak to like just some other components that have just been so, just people, individual insight, wisdom, having eyes on like a business plan model, just speaking to some of those components that have been really instrumental in helping you building this platform, because building ain't easy.
So before we dive into that,
Okay.
I want to make sure that there are a couple names that we absolutely
Please.
shout out for support in terms of them being mentors or just listening or lending their expertise and advice. So one of the first names that I want to say is Dr. Gail Myers and Elaine Smith. They run Farms to Grow in the Bay.
Okay.
And we were doing searching, and Carmen came across Dr. Gail Myers and all of the work that she's done for Black anthropology and agriculture and study. And we cold called her just out of the blue, and she's become a staple mentor in just, she'll check in with us, we check in with her in terms of just moving forward in so many ways. She's been so beneficial. And so, like, we 100% appreciate that.
That is beautiful.
And the programs that Farms to Grow is doing, like, they are doing work to help prepare and support farmers. So I just needed to shout her out. And then also Jemiah.
Yes.
Jemiah Hargens of Crop Swap LA. We put ourselves on his Calendly as strangers. The only time block he had open was 7 a.m.
But it wasn't you. How did you? Was it a public Calendly link, or you you just so happened to find it? Because if it was out there,
I think either it might have been on the website, or we might have emailed him and he sent the link. But he sent it one time and we just kept the.
Hey there. Can we chat? Can we chat?
And then there are just a couple people that I want to give thanks to on our team that moved this thing forward. So we have our lovely photographer, Asha, here, who supports us with
Asha.
photography,
Asha.
social media support, all that stuff. She's not in the food space, but an integral part of just like a lot of our everyday.
All the hands.
All the hands. Mallory, who is our digital strategist, website, all things digital. She's an integral part since the very beginning, launched our first website, working on some new things coming now. Carmen mentioned Tamara, and then Deja. She is a miracle. Deja,
She is actually.
Deja is she's agriculture, planning, policy, all these amazing things. We met her originally through the LA Food Policy Council, who we have a great relationship with.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's really great.
And they're another just amazing group of people and resource. Yeah. But like these people move us forward.
Yes. That is, I'm glad that we're saying that though, because I often talk about infrastructure. So there's infrastructure, right, to like farming and growing and like actual structure on the land. But when we talk about infrastructure and building a business, all hands matter to move your business forward. So photographer, social media, website, like people just to serve as, consultants to give you guidance, like that moves your business forward. And that when I think about economic stability, it is, do you have the infrastructure? Do you have the resources for your business to like really stand on solid ground so that you can scale? So I'm glad that you said that, because all of that is important.
Yeah. And
Everybody's
these
important.
are things that we didn't have at the beginning. Like
Yeah,
we have a business consultant who helps us because when you're doing the work,
Shout out Sienna.
Shout out Sienna.
We're shouting everybody out.
But because like these things matter, these people matter. And also like a lot of times these are some of the things that I feel like, honestly, as Black owned businesses, one, we overlook, or two, we think don't matter, or we can't afford, or all these things.
That's
like,
why I
let
made
me
that.
tell
I'm
you,
speaking to Black businesses. Let me be very clear. Yeah.
first of all, when I love these people because like they believe in the work and the mission. Because it's not like we are bankrolling anybody's salaries right now. Not even close. But
Not yet.
not yet.
Right.
But they get the importance of what we're doing. We have a PR person now. Shout out Skylar.
Hey, Skylar.
We did not have that the first, year and a half or 2 years. It was all us doing everything. And so even though our hands are the ones doing the work, we, over the last few years, have met amazing people and realized, like, we don't have all that. Well, we know from the beginning we don't have all the answers,
Right.
especially in a space that we are new to.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what does it look like if we are a platform for amplifying other businesses? We need to make sure that we can reach an audience so that these businesses can grow. And so that is what the rest of our team really helps us to do, to like continue to amplify and move forward, because it's one of the biggest gaps with Black-owned businesses.
Absolutely.
I think.
And that's all businesses. Like everything that you
Yeah.
name, I want the Black farmer to have that. They operate a business.
And that's why we can connect them through the resources that we have, and that's part of it. So I just needed to say that because Carmen and I still do the work. Aside from like our amazing volunteers, we have some volunteers that come back and work with us again and again and again. And most of them started off like coming to our pop-up markets, so we're the ones that are physically doing it, but these people help us to have eyes and just move forward with the bigger picture, because they believe in the mission, they know our big vision, and so they help us to keep moving forward. So we can get back to your other question. I just wanted to say that because
No, that's very important. I'm glad that you did say that.
and it's important to make room for it even when you think that you can't.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because, like, for example, all of this, like, Skylar got us on Good Morning America. Like having
Come
a PR
on,
person,
Skylar.
and that's invaluable.
Absolutely.
Everyone on our team is worth their weight in gold.
And so, because we can't pay them $1 million, we can't pay them in gold, but we want them to know publicly how much we appreciate what they contribute to what we're doing.
Listen, I mean, I'm not saying y'all couldn't have done this, but you needed someone to get you in front of Good Morning America, because you might not have been able to do it by yourself, just having access. And it's those little things that become big things. Like one person has access to resources that you may not have access to, and bam, there you are. That's important. I want that for everybody. Prosperity.
Exactly. What I do want to say to that is, even before we had Skylar, so God has placed all of these people in our lives,
Absolutely.
and it's happened very organically. But the way we even got to Skylar was, I was in a clubhouse room.
Does that place still exist?
I don't know.
Okay. Who knows? It served its purpose for us during the pandemic.
Right.
This
And
was
you
4
met
years
Skylar,
ago.
So listen.
I didn't even meet Skylar.
Oh,
I
you
didn't
met-
even meet Skylar.
But it sounded like it was a conduit to Skylar.
It
So that's
exactly
what we're going to rock
was.
with.
I met a woman who was, her name is Danielle. Hey, Danielle. And she's a writer, a food writer, and I think she did some PR too. And she heard me just talking about, we hadn't even had an event. I was just talking about what we want to do, And she heard me and she was interested in it. So we connected, and she linked us up with a writer for the LA Times. And this was our very first interview, article, anything, and it was right. It came out the week before our first market. I mean, we had Sunday paper, LA Times, in print.
Wow.
Shout out
very
Jean
first-
Trin.
Hey,
'cause
Jean Trin.
She's covered us a few times since then.
And then Danielle wasn't able to take on the work of like being our PR person, but she would help us out every chance she could get. She would even volunteer at our markets. And then she connected us with Skylar because she said, you know, she understood that we needed more than she could do. So she connected us with someone who could support us in that way.
And it was wild because for the first 2 years, like, we are gathering vendors, managing the online marketplace.
That's a lot.
Writing our own press releases, filling our cars to unload and set up the market, packing the online orders, just like anything that needs to be done, we're the ones doing it. And largely it's still that way. But like Carmen said, like, when we meet these people and God places them in our lives, it's like, okay, what does it look like to keep you around? Because like, you're here.
Yes.
So like, let's talk about what does it look like for you to stay?
Right.
Yes.
Because we still do all the things and we only have so many hands. But if you want to grow, you know, like, you're only as big as your reach. And my arms only go so far. But if I link hands with you and you and you, then we can grow farther. And ultimately, it's always about how much amplification and access we can get to the food, the farmers, the producers that we work with.
Yes. What is you have a grand vision and you're executing that, but what is the bigger vision outside of that vision? Like, ultimately, like, would you want to stay in LA? Do we see this going across the states, or what would be like the biggest dream goal for y'all?
Prosperity Market trailers in every city.
Come on, trailers.
Supporting the local ecosystem in every city. So if we come to DC, it'll be DC farmers that are supporting and other businesses that are in that trailer. So everywhere we go, it supports the local ecosystem of wherever we are.
Because then you can feed the people locally. It puts money directly back into that local economy and those businesses. Like, it keeps it right there. And ultimately, then it develops the business ecosystem, the food ecosystem for that community, for that city, for that state. And it shortens the mile for people to be able to eat and businesses to be able to grow. And that's why we're so excited to have you here too, because we're both from Maryland.
Yes, I was going to say, we're all Marylanders in the house,
Hey.
y'all.
Looking at the imaginary camera.
So it's exciting because, I mean, we talked at the very beginning about being like, okay, once we lock this down in California, part of the vision is to take it back home and take it across the country. So we're really excited about that.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you know, a step at a time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But-
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
So Brandon from DMV, the People's Market,
People's
if you're
Market.
listening, there's more to talk about.
all ears. And he gonna be like, I'm down, y'all. Let's go. Let's talk. Shout out to Brandon, who's doing really great work. So, oh my goodness. So
I know you did mention some things about like funding and resources though.
I did.
And I don't think that we should overlook that because it's super easy to talk about what the journey looks like from a Good Morning America view. And on the back end, it's just not that.
it is important to talk about back end stuff. You know, I am logistics, I am operations, and when we talk about
We're hiring.
stability,
You said the two key words, logistics and operations.
we could talk. You know, it's that infrastructure. What resources do you have to stand on solid ground to grow and scale? And oftentimes when we're talking about Black businesses, they lack a lot of the resources that you all spoke to. So I was been all ears in everything that you just mentioned. That is so important because, again, it's easy to look on the front end. Yes, we're providing, access to this local community. We have this mobile farmers market. We're doing this. That back end work, if it's crumbling, if the infrastructure is not there, it will cause challenges. And then we go back to the stats. And there are many other reasons too, why Black businesses and other businesses fail. So that's important to me. That's important to me. Like, businesses need technical assistance, they need consultants. There's a lot. These white businesses have it because they have the money and they can hire these folks. Now, some of them fail too, for other dumb reasons. But I mean, let me just be clear.
And they just come back with their next business
and they come
their
back
next
with
business.
their next business. Exactly. But they have something that we lack often.
Yeah.
All the things that we just said. So what is next? Like, what are some of the, like, what can we look forward to us on this end? Like, when I'm scrolling, down the timeline, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What's next?
So the next thing, the very next thing is our market in August, which is Black Business Month. We do a Black business scavenger hunt for the entire month to celebrate.
4th annual this year.
Yes. And it culminates at our market at the end of the month.
Okay.
And our trailer will be there. And then we're just looking forward to having the trailer operating around LA. So those are next steps.
Now, the Black business scavenger hunt. What can I hunt for? Or give me some, like, I'll be in LA for the day, okay, after this show wraps up. Like, who can I hunt? Like, who can give me like at least one or two, folks that I should tap into while I'm here.
Today's Sunday, so you actually could go down to Lamert. You could get
Okay.
you some ice cream from All Chill.
Listen, I
Oh
was
my
at Lamert
gosh.
Park yesterday.
Did you go to All Chill though?
I didn't go to All Chill.
So
walked
you have
past
to.
it. My friend said, you have to go there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go there. I just love the whole community and vibe. I need to be in community where my people are.
That's a good place to find it.
I love what they're doing over there. That's awesome. All Chills. Okay.
And in terms of the Black business scavenger hunt, so right now it's LA, of course, because
Yeah.
that's as big as our arms can reach
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
But it's a month-long hunt. So we put out a list of businesses and an interactive map with the points of all the businesses, and anyone can just start going to the businesses to play along. You get to the business, you scan a QR code with your phone to get a point to check in, and you can do that all month long. And then at the end of the month, the people with the most points could win prizes at our pop-up market. And it's really exciting because it's just a way for us to highlight and amplify that there are Black-owned businesses all throughout LA. And it's not just in one area, oftentimes, where we think. And last year we had businesses participating all the way from Altadena, which is kind of near Pasadena,
Okay.
all the way down to Long Beach. So that's quite a big stretch. And we are expanding this year. And if there happens to be an LA brick and mortar business listening, you can register your business on our website. Tell a friend that you know in LA, because August will be here soon.
Yes, it
but
will.
it's really exciting. And the thing is, like, people have discovered businesses they didn't know about, and then they keep patronizing throughout the rest of the year and share about it. And it's just a really fun way to be able to bring more eyes to a lot of businesses that, like we just talked about, when you're a small business, like, that marketing piece often falls to the wayside because you're just trying to run your business. So it's just our way of helping to support that.
That's incredible. Gosh. Okay. I need a reason. I need several reasons to come back to LA. All right.
Come in August for the
Definitely
scavenger
want
hunt
to
for
come back
sure.
in August for the scavenger
And the
hunt. That
soft
sounds-
launch of our trailer at the market.
That trailer. I need to get on that trailer, y'all. I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited. This has been a joy. I want to have y'all back. There's just so much that we can talk about.
I
I
know.
really enjoy diving into the economic piece and business structure and resources. That really that resonates a lot with me. And so that is really important. But congratulations on
Thank you.
everything that y'all have done.
Thank you.
Two beautiful Black women that put down the makeup brush and, tossed the clothes to the side and said, this is what we're going to do. We have a solution, and I'm just excited that you all have had so much support I am going to wrap up with one question, but if there are any final thoughts, I think I saw you hold the mic up. Did you want to say something?
I do. On our part 2, I would love to talk about how we did crowdfund and raise the money because that is really important because we didn't start with it. So
yes.
And people should realize that it is reachable. We can all do this.
I didn't realize that you all did crowdfund, so thank you.
So one of the ways that we got started, because we didn't have the capital up front, very much a, a learning curve, was we apply for grants and we write our own grants. And we have written and do write a lot of them. Private, for the city, federal, state, like all of those things. And
these are grants that support for-profit businesses because are you all for-profit or nonprofit?
we are a for-profit
You're
business.
for-profit.
We also have a fiscal sponsor.
Okay, great.
That's something we can talk about on another episode
Yes,
as well.
that's good.
Because
That's
So
awesome.
it was intentional for us to be for-profit because we want to be able to have the flexibility and maneuverability to make the impact. And also we want to have a structure where we can generate revenue to grow to help the businesses that we feature grow. So, but we needed to start, right?
Yeah.
We needed to start somewhere. So grants were a way for us to get the ball rolling. We didn't know how to bankroll pop-up markets with 30 plus vendors. And one of those grants that we won from the Drew and Lauren Holiday Impact Fund, part of that also came with learning how to crowdfund. And so we had these amazing mentors from Fund Black Founders and Crowdfund Better, both of which are all about teaching small businesses how to raise money. And they essentially showed us and taught us. And then we, after a lot of really hard work and maybe a few tears, crowdfunded.
Buckets, a few buckets. A few buckets of tears.
A river.
Because raising money in any space is not for the faint of heart, right? Like you really have to be. And then for crowdfunding, it's a whole other monster. It's not just a like, hey y'all, we need some money, press go. Like there's a relationship build. There's
Marketing,
an entire.
you got to be on it every day.
And we did it. And that's how we actually raised the money for our trailer.
Gotcha. Wow. It sounds like future playbook for other people seeking future. I say future because y'all got a lot on your plate right now. But again, this is important. There needs to be more playbooks to how to. And again, things are changing. The landscape of business is changing. So there are going to be tweaks. But I want this for all businesses, regardless of what you do. Prosperity. We're going back to prosperity.
That's
prosperity
right.
market.
And honestly though, there really is just a level of go and get it that you have to have because we didn't necessarily know who to reach out to in the beginning. So we really were doing, like, before we started anything, we did 6 months of research. It was heads down 6 months of research just so that we could know where to get started, just so that we could figure out what type of business we wanted to set up and how to do that and what all of that looked like. And, oftentimes people ask us, like, where do you find grants? Well, people send them to us sometimes, but now because we dig so much, we've signed up on mailing lists and now we get emails and now it's in our algorithm and it pops up and somebody will mention a name. And so there is definitely a level of asking questions and just digging that got us started that now has created people know what we're looking for, like people that we're connected to. So if they think of something or see something, they send it our way. But we've not stopped. Like the funds need to keep rolling in. So, and if we're doing community work, like we're a for-profit business that does community work.
Right.
So there's a lot of branches and we can't just sit back and wait for it to happen.
At all. I have a finale question that I would love for each of you to answer. What is one actionable step or one what I like to call edible action that you would say that someone can take right now to combat food injustice?
My first answer would be to shop local. But I realize that that's not an answer for everybody because of, like, that's the reason why we exist, so that we could bring food to the places that it's not. So that's actually a really hard question for me, because for me, I feel like, okay, what can I do to combat this? We started a farmer's market.
Yeah, and that's definitely not the answer for everybody.
So I'm like, what can other people do other than support the work that is being done in the area? Talk to your city council people about the policy that needs to change.
That is important.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Tap your municipal leaders, okay?
And so, you know, even though you didn't tell us everything that we would discuss, I'm very glad that you kind of gave us a heads up about this question because this was something that required some thought. And so last night I was really pondering, like, what does that look like? And so when you ask, like, what could people do about food injustice? So that's a big question.
Yeah,
because
it is.
food injustice impacts lots of different groups of people in lots of different ways. And so I came up with a couple of answers because there's levels to it.
There's so
Because
many
there's
levels.
so many levels to it. So the first thing is, like Carmen said, like, where you shop, right?
Yeah.
No matter what the answer is, it has to be intentional. So shopping local, whether it's local farmers markets, local food events, especially if they happen in areas that don't usually have them, because it says to the event organizers and the businesses and even the local officials that people want more of this here. Because the assumption is that in certain communities, they don't want it, they don't like it, and so we won't bring it. So if you patronize or support those things, it says otherwise. And, you know, if you don't need the food, maybe you shop for someone else who might.
Big one.
You know, like, sometimes
one.
it does look like people who don't have access or can't get to it or aren't thinking about it just coming from you. The other part of that is with shopping local, I think, like, some of the small corner store shops, right? Or the mom and pop shops. Those kinds of things are really important because it takes something to be a business owner that serves your community. And those small stores and corner stores, like, they oftentimes want to know what the people in the area want. So if you shop or you check in or you give feedback, that can help them better serve you.
yes.
And then what Carmen was saying about, like, the city officials, right? So policy around why don't we have certain stores? Why don't we have certain resources? Why don't we have certain farmers markets? And also SNAP and EBT, like the food stamp benefits.
Yep.
Whenever those things come up and they're being cut, voting for them, because
big one.
everybody doesn't have the same level of ability to take care of their immediate needs and then feed themselves and their family. So, like, I was having a conversation with a gentleman not too long ago. Nice man, white gentleman, very prestigious job. It was a few of us just talking about food work. And one of the things that I brought up was, like, something we talk about a lot, that SNAP and EBT, when people use it, and if more people that qualify use it, it pours millions back into the local economy. So that's good for jobs, that's good for businesses, and he had never thought about it like that. Like, when people that qualify use their SNAP and EBT benefits, it brings money into the local economy. And so, you know, those kinds of things, like standing on that, voting for those things,
Right.
all of that matters as well. Yeah, so those are just, like, some of the levels of things, like,
No, that all important stuff, and especially your local council, like, tap them. You can email them, show up to a public meeting. And so for me, it is, you know, having a collection of all these answers and do one thing, you know, like, pick a lane, stay in it. You can't do it. I can't save the world, you know, we all can't save the world. But that policy stuff is really important, and speaking to SNAP and, you know, EBT, fighting for, because there is a fight for that funding. Like, there are some districts, like back at home in DC, funding is being cut.
Here
know?
too.
Here too.
Here too.
That is important. Tap your local elected official, because there are communities who depend on, who need that money, who need that funding, and that they can use it at the market. They can come to eventually, and use that and use the funds to purchase from farmers and producers and pour that money back in. So that policy piece, I'm glad that you mentioned that, is super key. People overlook that. They don't think about that.
I want to add more thing to that. Sometimes you don't know who to write to or what to say.
Very true.
And the folks like here, the LA Food Policy Council and other organizations like that have toolkits. And they're like, these are the people you need to talk to. Here's a script, a sample script you can use. So I imagine that the food policy councils in every city has something similar, or the groups that kind of do that work.
Thank you for making that point.
And sometimes it could even be if you're not sure where to look, because a lot of places do have their own food policy council, but whoever your like local people are too, you can even reach out and say like, this is a concern, and they can direct you. And now you can reach out on social media. They all have Instagrams.
Yes, they do.
Some of them have TikToks.
Slide
like
them
you
into
can
that
you can even
DM.
just say like, this is a concern.
Tag them, do everything.
Oh, and the other thing that you can do is also like contribute, because there are for-profit and nonprofit businesses doing this work, because it's such a big space. So you can contribute financially, you can contribute with your time, and all of it makes a difference.
Both nonprofit and for-profit, y'all. Please hear that. Not to shame the 501c3s, because we have gone in on 501c3s.
No, but they all have a place.
Yes, but they all have a
place.
They do. So that was an edible essay, y'all. And I'm
Sorry.
here for it because it's my show and it is what it is. So it all mattered. So this has been a pleasure. Thank y'all so much
Thank
for
you.
spending your Sunday with me in LA at the Line. Very special episode. But before we really hit, the end button to this, where can folks find y'all online so that they can pull up and support you and tap in?
So they can find us at prosperitymarketla.com. We ship nationally in our virtual market, so wherever you're listening from, you can order something from Prosperity, and you'll love it.
Awesome.
And then you can also follow us on Instagram at prosperity.market. We talk about what we do, what's coming up, and all those things on there as well.
Stay tuned, because we have a lot coming up.
Some good stuff that people can get excited about.
I'm coming back to LA, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. You can find today's episode on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and until next time, peace. Thanks for tuning in. You can catch today's episode on iTunes, Spotify, and Simplecast. And be sure to follow us at Food Talks in Color, that's just the letter N, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.